They say Mongolia is empty, but that's a lie told by people who've never stood under its sky. Because if you wait, if you listen, the silence breaks with wings. Here under what locals call the eternal blue sky, life doesn't just survive, it flies. Over glaciers, across golden steppe, even through the dusty heat of the Gobi. In this video, we'll meet 15 wild bird species of Mongolia, some sacred, some strange, some so rare they've never even been filmed in the wild. You'll see falcons that chase prey at over 200 miles per hour, tiny songbirds that outlast Siberian winters, and a vulture that eats bones by dropping them from the sky. But here's the real mystery. Which one of these birds has been trained by hand for thousands of years to hunt wolves? Stick around, because Mongolia isn't just a country, it's a sky, and that sky is full of wings. Let's take flight. If speed had feathers and a legacy older than most empires, it would look exactly like this. Meet the Saker falcon, a living missile with a beak, talons, and a 3,000-year resume as a hunter's most trusted partner. This isn't just Mongolia's national bird. It's a cultural icon, a sky-born weapon, and one of the most highly prized falcons in the world. And when we say prized, we mean it. In the Gulf states, a trained Saker can be worth over $100,000. But let's rewind, because in Mongolia, falconry isn't a luxury hobby, it's a heritage. Passed down through generations, especially among the Kazakh people of Western Mongolia, who have trained these birds to hunt hares, foxes, and even wolves. Yes, wolves. Here's the twist. Despite its long-standing bond with humans, the Saker falcon is now threatened in the wild. Populations are dropping fast due to habitat loss, electrocution from power lines, and illegal trapping. Yet out here on the steppe, under that endless sky, it still flies. Fun fact, Sakers are bigger and bulkier than the peregrine falcon, but nearly as fast. They combine raw power with agility, capable of mid-air takedowns and dramatic stoops from hundreds of feet above. And their plumage? A mix of sandy brown, cream, and chocolate streaks, perfect camouflage against the dry Mongolian plains. From a distance, they disappear into the horizon until it's too late for whatever they're hunting. Most of their prey are ground animals, rodents, small birds, even reptiles. And once locked on, the Saker doesn't hesitate. It strikes with explosive speed, using its notched beak to snap the prey's neck mid-air or on impact. But it's not all violence and velocity. When perched on a falconer's glove, the Saker falcon is calm, alert, and impossibly regal, like it knows it's descended from the sky gods. So here's your question. Would you rather train a bird this powerful or try to outfly it? Comment your answer, because coming up next, we go from predator to poise as we meet a crane with moves so elegant, it might just outdance you in slow motion. If the Mongolian steppe had a ballerina, this would be her. Meet the Demoiselle Crane, graceful, slender, and elegant enough to be named after French nobility. But don't let the name fool you. This bird's life is anything but pampered. Each year, Demoiselle Cranes migrate over 5,000 miles, crossing some of the harshest terrain on Earth, including the Himalayas, where oxygen is thin and temperatures drop below freezing. It's the highest altitude migration of any crane species, all for the chance to breed in Mongolia's vast open plains, where grass waves in the wind like water. Visually, they're stunning. Steel gray bodies, black necks, and long trailing white plumes behind their eyes like silk ribbons. They walk like dancers, head high, steps measured, always elegant. And their courtship? Forget candlelight and roses. This is all about the dance. Pairs face each other, bowing, leaping, tossing grass, and calling in duet. It's not just romantic, it's synchronization perfected by evolution. Here's the twist. Despite their beauty and long migration, Demoiselle cranes are notoriously shy. They're extremely sensitive to disturbance. And in Mongolia, they nest on the open steppe with little cover, making them easy targets for foxes, eagles, and increasingly, human activity. Fun fact, in Mongolian culture, the Demoiselle crane is a symbol of grace, loyalty, and peace. They appear in local poems and songs, and seeing one in flight is said to bring good fortune. Also, they're loud. Their call is a haunting, bugling cry that echoes across valleys at dawn and dusk, often heard before the birds are even visible. When they fly, their legs trail straight out, wings stretched wide, each flap deliberate, slow, and strangely calming. It's like watching meditation take flight. So here's one for the comments. If you had to impress a mate using nothing but movement, what would your demoiselle dance look like? Drop your moves below. Next, we swap elegance for extremes, because our next bird doesn't fly to water. It carries water in its feathers across blazing deserts just to keep its chicks alive. All right, time to get weird. In the best way. Meet the palace's sand grouse, a bird that looks like a pigeon, walks like a quail, and lives like a desert survivalist with a PhD in hydration. Found across Mongolia's dry steppes and semi-deserts, this bird has cracked the ultimate parenting hack. It doesn't just find water, it brings it home. Here's the twist. The male palace's sand grouse flies dozens of kilometers to reach waterholes, sometimes the only liquid source for miles, then soaks his belly feathers with water and returns to the nest, where his thirsty chicks drink directly from his body. Yes, seriously, their belly feathers are specialized to hold moisture like a sponge. And the chicks, they nuzzle under their father's chest and sip the droplets off his feathers like baby birds at a built-in bird bar. That's parenting. Now let's talk looks. The sand grouse is beautifully cryptic, warm sandy tones, black barring, and a long tapering tail that helps it blend in perfectly with stony ground. From above, it's basically invisible. Its flight is fast and direct, with rapid wing beats and a distinct whistling call that sounds like something out of an old sci-fi movie. Kurrik. Fun fact, sand grouse are so consistent in their morning water runs that wildlife researchers and nomadic herders can predict the time of day just by their arrival. They're feathered alarm clocks. And while their water carrying is famous, their daily life is all about efficiency. Low-profile nesting on open ground, ultra-stealthy movements, and short, purposeful bursts of flight. They don't waste time. They don't show off. They just survive with style. So here's your comment challenge. If you had to carry water across a desert but could only use one part of your body to do it, which part would you trust the most? We won't judge, probably. Coming up next, we leave the sky and hit the ground, because our next bird doesn't fly much at all. It runs, it hops, and it has one of the strangest voices in the Mongolian desert. If a bird ever nailed the role of desert trickster, it's this one. Meet the Mongolian Ground J, a bird that doesn't care about flying unless it has to, prefers sprinting over soaring, and looks like it just escaped a cartoon. Found almost exclusively in the dry shrublands and stony flats of the Gobi Desert, this bird is a master of evasion, mischief, and sneak attacks on beetles. It's rare, it's weird, and it's fast, seriously fast. These birds run like tiny roadrunners, darting between rocks with sudden hops and zags, tail lifted like a balancing pole. It's so efficient on foot that it barely flies, unless startled. Even then, it'll fly low, land quickly, and start running again like, no thanks, oh sky. Here's the fun twist. The Mongolian Ground J belongs to the crow family, which means it's way smarter than it looks. It uses tools, caches food, and has a complex, almost nasal call that sounds like it's mocking you. Ree, ree. Fun fact, its bill is long and curved, perfect for probing under rocks or scraping through loose soil in search of juicy insects or lizards. And it has eyelashes. Okay, technically eyelash-like bristles above its eyes, but it gives the bird a permanently suspicious, slightly judgmental expression. Visually, it's a stunner. Soft buff and gray plumage, a dark eye stripe, and a long, expressive black and white tail that acts like a mood barometer. When it's alert, that tail's up and twitching like a flag on a windy hill. And because it's so hard to find and so quiet most of the year, spotting one in the wild feels like you've glitched into a secret level of Mongolia's ecosystem. So tell us in the comments, would you rather have wings and rarely use them? Or legs that let you outrun almost anything but never fly? We'll let you think on that. Coming up next, we trade speed for spectacle because our next bird is the original sky artist, a bearded giant that paints the mountains with shadows and drops bones from the clouds. If a mythological creature and a mad scientist built a bird together, this would be it. Meet the bearded vulture, also known as the lammergeier, a massive, haunting raptor that eats bones, wears eyeliner, and looks like it belongs in a Game of Thrones episode. This bird doesn't just clean up after death, it devours the leftovers no one else touches. While other vultures squabble over meat, the lammergeier waits and then swoops in for the bones. Literally, bones. It eats them, crunches them, and digests them with acid so strong it melts calcium like aspirin in soda. Here's the twist. For bones too big to swallow, it flies high into the air and drops them onto rocks to shatter them into bite-sized chunks. Yes, it's the only bird in the world that uses gravity as a kitchen knife. Fun fact, despite the word vulture, it has almost no bald spots. Instead, it has rust-stained orange and white feathers, dyed naturally from iron-rich dust baths, like a punk rock vulture that discovered body paint. Its wingspan? Up to 2.8 meters. That's over 9 feet of silent, gliding power. And it uses those wings to cruise along high-altitude cliffs and alpine valleys, especially in western Mongolia's Altai Mountains. Locals have long held this bird in a kind of sacred respect. It's rare, mostly solitary, and deeply mysterious. Some legends say seeing a lammergeier means the mountains have accepted your presence. Others say, don't look too long. Their face is fierce, red eyes surrounded by a black mask and feathered tufts that resemble a beard, hence the name. But it's more than a look, it's a warning. I'm not here to play, I'm here for the bones. So here's your comment prompt. If you could have one bizarre superpower inspired by a bird, would it be bone digestion, desert water transport, or snake kicking? Let us know your pick. Next up, we scale down the size but not the drama, because our next raptor might be smaller, but it's got eyes like lasers and patience that could outweigh a stone. If the bearded vulture is the shadow of the mountains, this guy is the watchful eye of the steppe. Say hello to the Upland Buzzard, Mongolia's largest buteo, a broad-winged raptor that combines raw power, deadpan patience, and the stare of someone who's already calculated your downfall. This bird is built for endurance. It doesn't chase, it waits. Perched on boulders, fence posts, or scraggly trees, it surveys the open plains like a sniper with wings, searching for just one twitch of grass that says, lunch. Here's the twist. Unlike its cousins in temperate forests, the upland buzzard lives in cold, treeless landscapes across the high-altitude plains and semi-deserts of Mongolia. Its prey? Mostly voles, ground squirrels, pikas, and the occasional unlucky bird. Fun fact, its nesting strategy is surprisingly bold. Rather than hiding in trees, it nests in the open, on cliffs, rocky outcrops, even old ground nests. And when disturbed, it'll launch into the air with a powerful, slow flapping ascent, then circle high and let out a piercing cry like, I saw you before you saw me. Visually, it's a stunner, a mix of pale browns, chestnut tones, and cream, often with a light-colored chest and dark commas at the wrist of the wings in flight, making it easy to ID if you know what to look for, but also easy to miss if you're not paying attention. What makes the upland buzzard cool isn't just its size, it's the attitude. It doesn't need to be flashy, it just needs to be the last thing a vole ever sees. And like most buteos, it's incredibly adaptable. In hard winters, it'll shift its diet. In dry years, it expands its hunting grounds. It doesn't panic, it adjusts. So here's your comment prompt. Would you rather be fast and flashy, or quiet, patient, and always right on time? Coming up next, we're diving into a different kind of extreme. Meet a songbird the size of a golf ball that survives snowstorms like a champion. Now let's shrink things down a bit, because not all survivors in Mongolia are big, fierce, or equipped with bone-melting stomach acid. Some are small, fluffy, and somehow even tougher. Say hello to the Azure Tit, a delicate-looking songbird that laughs in the face of minus 30 degrees Celsius winters. It may look like a pastel marshmallow, but trust us, this thing is a miniature tank with feathers. Found in the riparian woodlands, willow groves, and reed beds of northern and central Mongolia, the Azure Tit is one of the most cold-hardy songbirds in Asia. It survives long winters where even your Wi-Fi signal would freeze solid. Here's the twist. Despite its softness and baby blue coloring, this bird is non-migratory. While other birds flee south, the Azure Tit sticks around, roosting in tree holes, fluffing up like a pom-pom, and fueling itself non-stop on insects, seeds, and fat-rich snacks. And did we mention it's adorable? It has sky blue wings, a snow-white belly, and a tiny black eye that makes it look like a cartoon sidekick you'd risk your life to protect. But don't be fooled. This bird is sharp, curious, and lightning fast when feeding. Fun fact, Azure Tits sometimes join mixed winter flocks with other tits and small birds, like long-tailed tits and nuthatches, creating what birders call mini bird storms that move through snowy forests together. It's like a traveling buffet line with wings. Also, they sing, not just in spring, but even in late winter. Soft, sweet trills and peeps that cut through the silence like tiny hope signals in the cold. It's one of those birds that doesn't demand your attention. But once you notice it, you realize it's been quietly outlasting the worst conditions nature can throw at it. So here's your comment challenge. What's the smallest thing in your life that turns out to be the strongest? Coming up next, we go from snowbird to shoreline because our next species lives around Mongolia's Great Lakes, where fish are plenty and wingspans can rival an eagle's. Time to talk royalty, specifically a king you've probably never heard of. Introducing the Pallas's fish eagle, a rare, elusive raptor that haunts the shores of Mongolia's remote lakes and rivers like a ghost in royal robes. If the bald eagle is America's symbol of freedom, then this bird is Mongolia's phantom sovereign, huge, regal, and vanishing faster than anyone would like to admit. It's one of the rarest eagles in the world, with declining populations scattered from Central Asia to parts of India. And in Mongolia, you'd be lucky to spot one even once in your lifetime. Here's the twist. Despite being a true fish eagle, it's known to steal kills from other birds, especially ospreys and gulls. That's right, royalty doesn't fish, it outsources. Visually, it's impressive. A rich brown body, pale cream-colored head and upper chest, and a fierce yellow beak that says, "I don't negotiate." Wingspan? Over 2 meters, 6.5 feet. Plenty of power to glide low over the water and snag fish near the surface with zero splash. Fun fact, the Pallas in its name refers to Peter Simon Pallas, an 18th century German zoologist who studied Mongolian fauna extensively. This bird is one of his namesakes, right alongside the Pallas's cat and Pallas's sand grouse. Yes, he kind of collected naming rights like NFTs. The eagle nests in isolated wetland areas, often in tall trees or rocky ledges overlooking fresh water. And when it's not actively hunting, it can be seen perched like a statue, silent, motionless, and absolutely unbothered by anything. But here's the sad part. Habitat loss, overfishing, and human disturbance are shrinking its territory year by year. It's listed as vulnerable, and researchers are scrambling to learn more before it's too late. So here's your comment question. What's a species you'd fight to save, even if most people have never heard of it? Is it this eagle? Something in your own backyard? Let us know. Next, we head back into the cold wind of the steppe, where ghostly calls echo over thawing lakes and a fleet of snow-white necks glide silently across the water. If silence had a sound, it would be this bird's call. Meet the whooper swan, elegant, powerful, and almost ethereal as it glides across Mongolia's high-altitude lakes like a ghost in white. You've probably heard of swans, but this one? This is not your average fairy tale pond ornament. The whooper swan is bigger, louder, and wilder than most of its cousins. With a wingspan of up to 2.75 meters, that's over 9 feet, it's one of the largest flying birds in Mongolia. And when it takes off, it sounds like a windstorm wrapped in feathers. But the real signature? The voice. A deep, resonant, trumpet-like call, hoo-hoop, that rolls across frozen wetlands and echoes off distant cliffs like something from a fantasy film. It's this sound that gives the bird its name, whooper. Here's the twist. While they may look gentle, whooper swans are fierce defenders of their territory and young. They mate for life, raise their cygnets with military discipline, and charge intruders with wings outstretched like feathered battering rams. In Mongolia, they're found in remote alpine lakes and highland wetlands, places where snow can fall in June and thaw by noon. They arrive in spring, often while ice is still melting, and immediately begin nesting near shorelines. Fun fact, their migration is one of the most visually dramatic in Asia, flying in tight V formations from wintering grounds in China and Central Asia to the wild lakes of Mongolia's interior. And despite their size, they can fly thousands of kilometers without rest. Visually, they're flawless. Snow-white plumage, jet black legs, and a striking yellow and black bill that looks like it was painted on with a single, confident brushstroke. There's a reason they show up in ancient art and modern national emblems. The whooper swan is more than just a bird. It's a moving piece of landscape. So here's a question for you. If you could migrate anywhere in the world for the summer, no passport needed, where would you go and why? Let us know in the comments. Next up, we climb higher into the Altai Mountains, where cliffs echo with the calls of a rare alpine chicken that's built for snow, stone, and solitude. If a boulder grew feathers and learned to shout, this would be it. Say hello to the Alai Snowcock, a rugged, ground-hugging, mountain-dwelling bird that lives where most creatures wouldn't dare hike, let alone nest. This bird doesn't just survive in the Altai Mountains, it thrives at altitudes above 10,000 feet, where air is thin, temperatures can plummet, and even summer nights feel like winter. From a distance, the Alai Snowcock might look like a rock, because that's kind of the point. Its plumage is a mix of slate gray, dusty brown, and subtle white striping, perfect camouflage against alpine scree slopes. And it's big, about the size of a domestic chicken, but with legs built like hiking boots. Here's the twist. Despite being stocky and ground-based, this bird has a powerful, echoing call that rolls through the mountains like a foghorn. You'll hear it before you see it, an eerie, almost comical sound like coo-ha, coo-ha. It's like the mountain itself is yelling at you. Fun fact, Altai snowcocks are incredibly elusive. Not because they're rare, but because they're so good at disappearing. They stick to loose rock faces and ledges, freeze when approached, and flush only at the last possible moment, often startling unsuspecting hikers right off their footing. They feed on alpine grasses, seeds, buds, and insects, basically anything that grows at the edge of oxygen. And while they're strong flyers in short bursts, they much prefer to run uphill. Yes, uphill, at shocking speed. It's like watching a bowling ball develop ambition. In Mongolian culture, seeing or hearing a snowcock on a remote trek is often taken as a sign you've wandered far enough, maybe too far. So here's your prompt. Would you rather have perfect camouflage or a voice loud enough to shake cliffs? Drop your pick below. Next, we trade rock for rhythm, because the next bird might not be rare, but when it's breeding season, it dresses to impress and dances like it's being watched. Now this one knows how to work the runway, if that runway is a dusty stretch of Mongolian steppe. Meet the Oriental Plver, a sleek, stylish, and seasonally fabulous shorebird that struts across dry grasslands like it owns the place. It's not rare, it's not flashy year-round. But when breeding season hits, this bird turns into a showstopper. We're talking rich cinnamon chest, crisp white belly, dark cap, and long, lean legs that wouldn't be out of place in a high-fashion editorial shoot. If birds had Paris Fashion Week, the Oriental Plver would be front row, or walking the catwalk. But don't let the looks fool you. This is a tough bird, nesting in open, exposed patches of earth with almost no cover, relying entirely on camouflage, stealth, and speed. Here's the twist. While it breeds in Mongolia, It spends its winters over 5,000 kilometers away in northern Australia, meaning this little bird crosses the entire equator twice a year. That's like doing New York to Rio. On wings the size of a smartphone. It feeds on insects, worms, and small invertebrates, often sprinting in short bursts with sudden stops, like it's playing a game of red light, green light across the plains. Blink, and it's gone. Fun fact, unlike many shorebirds, Oriental Plovers nest far from water. Their preferred habitat is dry grassland or semi-desert, and their nest, a shallow scrape in the ground, with eggs so speckled they look exactly like the stones around them. It's nature's version of stealth mode, and when threatened, they'll perform a classic plover move, the broken wing display, pretending to be injured to lure predators away from their nest. Oscar-worthy performances every time. So here's your question. Would you rather migrate thousands of miles for perfect weather, or stay put and brave the elements no matter what? Tell us in the comments. Next, we scale the cliffs and change the mood entirely, because up next is a bird that climbs vertical rock walls, flies like a butterfly, and wears blood-red wings. Some birds soar, some strut. This one climbs. Say hello to the Wallcreeper, Mongolia's resident rock climber and one of the most visually surreal birds in all of Asia. Imagine a bird the size of your hand, wearing a gray velvet coat with wings that flash crimson red when it flies, like someone dropped a butterfly into a cave painting. The Wallcreeper doesn't live in trees, marshes, or meadows. It lives on vertical rock walls, cliffs, gorges, and canyon faces, literally clinging to stone like it was born with suction cups. Its toes are long and curved, allowing it to crawl, creep, and zigzag up rock faces like a feathered spider. And it doesn't just climb, it feeds there too, hunting tiny insects hiding in cracks, crevices, and lichen-covered ledges. Here's the twist. Despite looking delicate, this bird overwinters in sub-zero cliff zones and thrives in areas where most birds wouldn't even land. You won't see it often, but when you do, it feels like you've spotted something out of a dream. Fun fact, in flight, the Wallcreeper's red and black wings flare open in bursts, flashing like signal flags. They don't glide far, but they're acrobatic and startlingly agile, flitting between rock faces in a flutter and dart pattern that's hard to follow with the naked eye. Their call? A high, flute-like whistle that echoes through canyons, giving away their presence before your eyes can even catch them. And their nest? Tucked inside rock crevices, protected from wind, predators, and bad weather. Basically, the bird equivalent of a secret fortress. In Mongolia, they're mostly found in the Gobi Altai and mountainous border regions, especially where cliff faces offer year-round access to food and shelter. They're not bold, they're not flashy in behavior, but they are unforgettable. So here's a thought. If you could master one environment, just one, but be invisible to everyone who passes by, would you do it? Drop your answer below. Coming up next, we meet a bird that looks like a myth and behaves like a shadow. So rare that most people don't even believe it still exists in Mongolia. If the white stork is the cheerful postman of European folklore, then this one is its secretive, gothic cousin who lives off-grid and doesn't want to be found. Introducing the black stork, a tall, elegant, and eerily beautiful bird that haunts Mongolia's hidden rivers and remote forests, far from roads, villages, and curious humans. It's like the bird world's introvert, striking, quiet, totally unbothered. At first glance, it might look like it's wearing black, but step into the right light and those dark feathers flash with iridescent green and purple, like an oil painting coming to life. Here's the twist. Unlike the social, city-nesting white stork, the black stork is fiercely solitary, nesting in remote pine forests or cliff ledges far from any human activity. And in Mongolia, that means places even locals rarely visit. They prefer slow-moving rivers, wetlands, and mountain streams, anywhere they can silently stalk for fish, frogs, and aquatic insects. And when they hunt, it's with elegant precision, stepping slowly, neck curved like a question mark, before striking in a flash. Fun fact, black storks are incredibly sensitive to disturbance. Even something as simple as a drone or a hiker can cause them to abandon a nest, making them notoriously hard to study or film. Their call? They don't have the cheerful bill clatter of white storks. Instead, they're mostly silent, except for low grunts or croaks near the nest. It's kind of their thing. Show up, look amazing, say nothing, leave. In Mongolian folklore, they're seen as guardians of the forest's hidden places, and sightings are rare enough that some locals consider them omens. So here's your thought for today. Would you rather be beautiful and invisible, or loud and unforgettable? Drop your preference below. Next, we trade mystery for music, because up next is a bird whose voice is so powerful, so beautiful, it fills the entire steppe with song while flying. You've heard birdsong, but you haven't really heard a bird sing until you've met this one. Introducing the Mongolian Lark, a modest-looking ground bird with a voice so powerful it can fill an entire valley while flying. It's like nature said, okay, you're not going to be flashy, but I'm giving you the lungs of a rock star. Found across Mongolia's vast steppes, the Mongolian lark is the country's unofficial national soloist. You'll spot it perched on a fence post, or better yet, hovering midair, flapping furiously, and absolutely belting out its song like it's performing in the finals of Steppe Idol. Their song is rich, melodic, and surprisingly complex. Long chains of whistles, trills, and mimicry that can last for minutes without pause. And here's the best part. They sing while flying straight up into the sky, then hover midair, still singing, before gliding down like a slow-motion feathered elevator. It's part of their territorial and courtship display, and it's so dramatic other larks in the region don't even try to compete. Why bother? Here's the twist. This species isn't just a great vocalist, it's also a true steppe specialist. It nests directly on the ground, blending in with dry grasses, and raises its young in wide-open spaces where cover is scarce and threats are many. And yet, it thrives. Fun fact, the Mongolian lark's syrinx, bird voice box, is unusually well developed, giving it a vocal range broader than most songbirds its size. In fact, its vocal abilities are being studied by bioacoustics researchers for clues into avian learning and memory. Visually, it's unassuming. Brownish back, white belly, with distinct black and white streaks on the face that give it a sharp, alert look. But again, it's not the look that gets you, it's the voice. So here's a question to hum on. If your voice was your only form of identity, what would you sound like? Let us know below. Coming up next, we close our journey with one of Mongolia's most legendary birds, massive, majestic, and trained for thousands of years to hunt side by side with humans. You know the name, but the story, it's even wilder. If there's one bird that captures the spirit of Mongolia, its wildness, its power, its sky, it's this one. The golden eagle isn't just a predator, it's a partner, a warrior, and in the highlands of Western Mongolia, it's family. Let's start with the basics. This bird is huge, with a wingspan of up to 7.5 feet, over 2.3 meters, dagger-like talons, and vision 8 times sharper than yours. In the wild, it takes down hares, foxes, even young deer. But here's the twist. For over 1,000 years, the Kazakh eagle hunters of Western Mongolia have trained female golden eagles to hunt on horseback using ancient falconry techniques passed down through generations. Why females? They're bigger, fiercer, and more aggressive. When you're sending a bird after a full-grown fox in sub-zero temperatures, you don't want polite. Each eagle is raised and trained by hand, fed, cared for, and flown daily. The bond between hunter and bird is deep, quiet, and mutual. These birds don't just perform tricks. They track, pursue, and take down prey across snowy slopes using strength, speed, and stunning mid-air precision. And then, after about 10 years of service, the eagle is released back into the wild, respected, honored, and set free to live out the rest of her life in the mountains she once ruled from a glove. Fun fact, golden eagles are so revered in Mongolian culture that there's an entire festival in their honor. The Golden Eagle Festival in Bayanogi, where eagle hunters compete in skill, speed, and bond with their bird. Visually, they are breathtaking. Dark chocolate brown body, golden nape that glows in sunlight, and eyes like burning coals watching from the edge of the wind. They don't sing, they scream. A raspy, piercing cry that sounds like the wind itself is warning you. So here's your final question. If you could form a bond with any wild animal, the way Kazakh hunters bond with their eagles, what would it be? Let us know in the comments, because this isn't just a bird. It's a symbol of survival, of sky, of freedom. And in Mongolia, it still flies. So, from desert runners to cliff dancers, from snowbound singers to eagle-born legends, Mongolia's birds aren't just surviving, they're telling a story of wind, of silence, of flight. And if you've made it this far, thank you, because the world doesn't just need more bird watchers, it needs more people who are willing to listen. Which bird surprised you the most? Was it the eagle, the sand canteen dad, the bone dropper? Drop your favorite in the comments below. And if you love birds, wild places, and stories that fly a little deeper, hit that subscribe button. There's more coming, more wings, more wonder. Thanks for watching. See you on the next flight.